Oh, hello, everybody. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Russ on the West Ham Network. Bin day in the Budden household. If it's bin day on your day today, don't forget to take the bins out. If you're new around here, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a subscribe. Now, I'm going to have a bit of a rant tonight. I'm going to have a bit of a Russy rant. And my rant, my target focus is Lucas Fabianski. Now, Lucas is someone that I've always stood up for. I've always considered to be a model professional. And then I woke up yesterday from my whirlwind tour of Disney. So I could have been a little bit, I'm still a bit tired. And I saw snippets from his interview he did with Channel Plus, which had been, which it was in Polish, but had been translated by many an outlet, including Alan Repska. And as I said, I've always been an advocate of Fabianski. In all honesty, if you look at our sort of signings since, particularly the move, he's been I'd say arguably our best signing. We signed him in 2018 after the 17-18 season when Swansea had been relegated. We signed him for about £7 million. And to be honest, for the last 5 years, he's been our number one. And has been, has he won Hammer of the Year? I think he's won Hammer of the Year. I think so. Has he won Hammer of the Year? I should really have checked that. Has he won Hammer of the Year? Let's have a look. But while I'm doing that, someone who I've always considered to be quite a model professional. He's someone who rarely does any interviews. Rarely, you don't hear any bad word from him, really. I mean, they drag him out for interviews and for charity work and stuff like that. But he's someone who's always sort of not been an ever present. Yes, 2018-19, his first season, he was with us. He was Hammer of the Year. That's not too bad, is it, for a goalkeeper? And that was always the case. I always really rated him. And people say Ariella should have got in, should be number one. And I was like, no, do you know what? He's, Fabianski's still got it. But the interview he gave to Channel Plus the other day, I was really angry at him, and also a bit angry at the club as well. Because it's happened again where we've had interviews for major broadcasters which have, I don't know if they're unvetted or whatever, but how could he have said what he said, really? Now, I appreciate, translations sometimes lose the intonation of stuff, and maybe a word is implied in terms of what he's saying, and it was a bit of we'll go for the actual interview itself and my thoughts about it. But we knew, he's 38, 39. We'd offered him a 1-year deal plus an additional add-on. He's in the additional add-on year now. We probably, I'd imagine we're not going to give him a further contract at the end of this season coming. Whereas we spent, I don't know how much, we can't remember how much we spent on Areola to make his loan deal permanently to PSG. Areola's, the sort of late 20s. Fabianski's his late 30s. It was always implied that, and the fact is he was offered a 2-year deal, or 1+1. There was always going to be a transitional period, and the assumption was that was going to happen last year. It didn't. I think the only time he didn't play was it when he had when he broke his cheekbone. And so, apart from that, he'd played pretty much every Premier League game, and he wasn't injured. And it's age of 38. That's commendable, not picking up any sort of serious injuries apart from obviously his cheek and all. It was his orbital bone, wasn't it? He had to get. It was always horrible. We had to wear a mask and things for a while, and so that was always the assumption. But it didn't happen, and Ariella was sort of confined to the cup competitions ahead of him. Now, obviously, on Saturday, I even assumed that actually Fabianski was going to be between the sticks. But one of the major surprises was that Areola was the number one. And yesterday at the interview that it was released and the snippets from Channel Plus, Fabianski was talking about him being dropped. And as I said, it's the first time I've actually heard him speak out in the last 5 years since joining the club, and I'm really disappointed by him. It's petulant. It seems something that maybe a experienced veteran professional wouldn't do in terms of airing dirty laundry out into the press, and not just any press, but the French press, and maybe it was because it was the French press rather than the British press, for example, in terms of getting sign off and stuff like that. The whole interview itself was a bit strange in my eyes because he spoke Polish rather than English on a French channel, which seemed a bit strange, to be honest. But I suppose it is his native tongue. But I wonder if there was any sort of, because it's a French channel and he spoke Polish, and maybe that meant that it wasn't clear. It was easy to clear, maybe. We know from personal experience that if you interview a current player who's playing for their club, the club would want to see the interview before it goes out live. We've had it with when we interviewed Pedro Obiang. We had to send the interview. We couldn't do it live. We had to send the interview to Sassuolo to get signed off. Same as when we interviewed Diamante. He had to go to Western Australia when he was still playing for the time. That would be the same with West Ham. If West Ham interview someone, or one of their players is interviewed by a channel, they would have to have the questions checked, and also would have to have it okayed before it went live. The same thing happened with the Antonio podcast. And by all accounts, it was agreed, but it was agreed to go out after the cup, after the Europa Conference League final, but it wasn't, and there's no comeback. It's done. It's out in the ether, and now it's done then. And by all accounts, they've added some extra stuff and things like that. But it's just continual. Obviously, we had the whole thing with Scarmacca and his outbursts, and continue interviews with the Italian press, and now we've got Lucas and his outbursts. And I'm just really, firstly, I think it's really, several times now this has happened, and it's really detrimental against the club, the management, and the board, and for a new signing, particularly this time now where we need new bodies in, seeing Antonio's wants, is pissed off, Lucas Fabianski's pissed off, we know Cresswell wants to leave. But I mean, Cresswell's another example, he's just not training. Where's the professionalism? The trouble is the power is with the players. The power is with the players. It's not with the clubs anymore, it's with the players. Cresswell will go to Wolves. That deal will happen. And Wolves won't feel anything of it. The fact is, look back to Payet. Payet left Marseille by sort of going on strike to come to West Ham. And then are we surprised that Payet then goes on strike to West Ham because he wants to go back to Marseille? Look at Arnautovic, everything that happened there. He's actually about to re-sign for Inter Milan after like 11 years. They know what they're getting, but it doesn't matter because he'll score the goals that get him to the finals or get him into the Champions League spots, and the clubs don't care. But for me, I would love one day of opening Twitter or X, whatever you call it. It's very confusing with X, employment. And just not having anyone slag my club off, who currently works for my club. Do you know what I mean? It just seems really unprofessional. And I know it's different now. I would never assume that, if we had, to be honest, if we had social media, we had social media back in, I don't know, the whole issues with that Billy Bonds and Harry Redknapp saga in the early 90s. If we'd had social media then, it would have been all over the papers like a rash, all over Twitter and Facebook like a rash. We live in a different world now, so maybe that's my utopian view of footballers. But in the same way that if I was employed at my current company, I wouldn't take to Twitter, I wouldn't take to Facebook, I wouldn't take to Instagram, LinkedIn, and slag them off. They pay my wages. West Ham pay Fabianski's wages. West Ham have paid Fabianski's wages for the last 5 years. Reasonably well, I'd imagine. Looking at sort of, tens of thousands of pounds a week. And yet they still throw their toys out the pram. And that's like this whole Fabianski thing. It's exactly the same. The parallels with that and the Antonio interview the other, when he was talking, he was saying how he wanted competition. He didn't want to be just a he assumed he wanted competition. Went and bought Scarmacca. And as soon as he bought Scarmacca, he starts going, I want to leave. I want to leave. It's too hard. I want to leave now. I want more challenges. It's all gone quiet since Scarmacca's left, isn't it, though? He's all gone quiet about that. Same as this with Fabianski. Fabianski, 5 years you've been, you should have, you're not stupid. You're a very educated man. Your assumption is you've got a younger goalkeeper in. He's going to take your place eventually. He's not going to. So, and now he has. You've gone like, well, it should have been handled better. The writing's been on the wall for the last year, my friend. It really has. The writing was on the wall last summer when West Ham paid tens of millions of pounds to make a loan signing permanent of an international goalkeeper. Ding, ding, ding. He's not going to go. He's not going to turn up just to sit on a bench. And he'll want to. And in the same way, if it was in my eyes, if it was Areola came out and said all this, I would be more. I would say, fair play. Yeah, I think because your assumption is that you've come in, you've paid all this money to buy you, you're going to be played, and he wasn't last season. Now, it's not been many situations where we've had two number one goalkeepers. That's what we've got. In essence, we've got two number one goalkeepers. We've spoken about before, Fabianski or Areola. There was a real split in decision. I was always slightly favouring Fabianski. He was more of a steady Eddie. He was more of a safe choice. In all honesty, I thought he was. But he's really gone down in my estimation. It's incredible what a 30-second clip of a video. And obviously, I haven't seen the whole interview. So this is just from what I've seen. And as you said, because it's been translated, you could lose some of the nuances in terms of what he was saying. It might be, they might not have a particular word to describe something, or the severity of a certain word does change with languages. But to come out and say that, I've got where's the actual transcript? I've got the actual or some of the transcript here. Where is it? It's all disappeared. Where have we gone? But basically, he said, and this was quoted from the actual clip from the interview itself. And obviously, this was after the fact he knew dropped. He said, I took the news awfully. Being honest, first of all, it was a massive shock. How was it a shock? You've got someone there who's 10 years younger than you, who they've paid a hell of a lot of money for. Hell of a lot of money they paid for you. Just, have a think. Second of all, the information made me angry. What information? The information that you're becoming, that you're Areola's number one and you're number two for this game. Probably it could have changed. You don't know. I mean, we don't know whether that means Moyes has made the deal permanent in terms of Areola's number one. I don't know. I wasn't mentally ready for something like this. You've had the last 2 years, my friend. 2 years, my friend. Since the loan. I mean, the loan signing of Areola, you could probably assume, okay, he's coming in. But by making the loan permanent, that's a huge red flag that Areola's favoured. If he wasn't favoured, he wouldn't have made that. He wouldn't have made that deal permanent. The situation was handled. The way the situation handled feels weird to me. As you can probably feel my pain, all I can say is that you work through my work with the club, the coaching staff, and the managers. I deserve the situation to unfold in a much different way to how it happened on Thursday. So obviously Thursday he was told that he was not going to be starting. It does read to me like someone throwing their toys out the pram. I know it's just my subjective opinion, but I feel like should have been treated better in that specific situation. How many times? How do you say you're not going to be playing? He's going to be playing. How do you say it? Do you, I don't know, in a song? Do you have I don't know? They used to call it a shit sandwich. They do a lovely song, tell you you're going to be dropped, and then give you another song at the end. I don't know, or give you a bowl of ice cream when they're eating it. You're a professional footballer, man. That's sort of the basics of what was said. But it just makes me frustrated with footballers. Come out and say, do you know what? It really pissed me off. I really wanted to, I want to, but the right way of doing it is, it was shock, but, I'm going to work hard and regain my place. That's what you say. You don't say the way I was treated was bad and da-da-da-da. It's within the club. You have that conversation. You can have that conversation with the management in your own time, with the sporting director, with everyone else. There's enough people to talk to about that. But you don't air your dirty laundry. If I was Moyes, I'd be like, fuck him. I mean, he's not starting any game now. The part, and sometimes you've got professionalism and you've got personal life. And to be honest, this is a professional type thing you should have done. And it's same with Antonio. Antonio, the way he said, it's the words, the way, everything's in. Someone like Antonio particularly. It's a social media world. Things are. People haven't got the attention spans to listen to more than 30 seconds on TikTok, for example. So everything you got to be worried about has been sound clipped and stuff. And so you've got to be extra careful when you talk. I'm never a fan of current players being on podcasts. If they are, they should be boring. They should be boring. They should just lay the party line, because actually that's the people who pay their money. If it was a situation where you were slagging off your boss on social media, it will go back to them and you get fired or you'd get suspended. That's what should happen to these lot, because it keeps happening. It keeps happening. They must have something in their contract to say they can't talk to media. Otherwise, West Ham players would be on every YouTube channel because they'd want to, aggrieve their dirty laundry to people. But they don't. They don't. Pick and choose what they want to say. It just frustrates me. I get really frustrated because it's like, we're in a situation now where we need to get players in, and they're looking at, say we buy someone like Youssef Fofana, and he switches on his channel, like Channel Plus on his telly at home, in his Monaco apartment, and he sees that, but like, Jesus, I'll get chucked out. It's like, what type of message is that going to say to someone? You know what I mean? When you leave, you slag us off, but not when you're currently being paid handsomely by the club. Anyway, rant over. Let me know your thoughts. I'm sure there's going to be conflicting views. There's going to be people who are saying, I know exactly what some of the thoughts are, but I'll be interested to hear them anyway, because everyone's entitled to their own opinions. Some will say, yep, he shouldn't have said it. Some would say he's thrown his toys out the pram. He's been acting like a baby. Some will say, it's just he shouldn't have been handled that way. It's the facts. It's it's issues with David Moyes and stuff like that. It's the full spectrum. It's the full spectrum. I don't know how many different ways you can tell someone they're dropped. How do you do it? And he told him on Thursday, so he had 2 days to prepare for it. It's not like he turned up, like you used to do down Hackney Marshes, and you see the players on the notice board and your name's not on there. He didn't do that. He told him 2 days ahead that Areola was starting, and he must have got an inkling when they're doing training sessions. And he's like, "No, you actually, Fab, can you go pick up the cones? Areola's just doing a bit more set play practice." Ding, 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 ding. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it really frustrates me. Really frustrates me. Anyway, I'm gonna calm down. I'm gonna calm down now. And I hope Fabianski deserves better treatment, and in terms of when he's probably dropped for the next game on Sunday against what's his face, Chelsea. I hope you're a better. We'll give you all a clap to say sorry. Anyway, let me know what you think. Take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, my friends. Keep your nose clean. And we'll see you guys very, very soon. Actually, Holly's going to be doing her opinion about this whole Fabianski stuff, I believe, for the Daily Show. So keep an eye out. She might have a different perception than me, which would be quite interesting. Anyway, take care, stay safe, stay warm, and I'll see you soon. Much love. Bye.